Good morning, it's Miss Russell. I have a read aloud to share with you today, a special book that I want to read. The title of this book is called A Squiggly Story. Remember, a title is the name of the book, and a title is often short and snappy, and it gives us an idea of what the book's going to be about. So the title is A Squiggly Story. Think about that word, squiggly. Have you ever heard that word before? What does that word squiggly mean? It's a squiggle, a curly line, or a curvy line. So can you make a squiggle with your finger in the air? Just like this, squiggle, squiggle. Yeah, so a squiggle is just a curly line that you would make with your pencil, or you could make it in the air. We're going to read this book today, A Squiggly Story, and this book was written by Andrew Larson. The writer of the book is called the author. They write the words. The illustrator of this book is Mike Lowry. And Mike Lowry is the person who drew all the beautiful pictures in the book. And so they both played an important role in making this story come to be. So as we read A Squiggly Story today, there's a few things that I want you to keep in mind. So I want to show you one more thing before we read. I want to show you this. Knowing the text type of a story, it helps you just have a better understanding of what the book's about. And a lot of the books that we will read in kindergarten are books, and they're called fiction books. And a fiction book is a made-up story about characters, places, and events. Did you hear that? Fiction stories are made up. Do you know any made-up stories? I bet you watch made-up cartoons quite often. Have you ever made up a story? So a made-up story it's about characters. So it might be about a girl or a boy, ghosts or aliens or puppy dogs. That's the character of the story. That's the person or the animal that's in the story. The setting is where you are, the place where the story happens. A story might happen at school, in outer space, in the woods, maybe under the sea. And then the events or the important happenings in the story. So what may happen in this, in the book or the story that you write? There might be a rocket ship that launches, a birthday party, a visit to the beach, a soccer game. So remember, a fiction story is a made-up story about characters, places, and events. Let's get back to our squiggly story. A Squiggly Story. And this book's by Andrew Larson. A Squiggly Story. My sister loves to read big words and little words, page after page, word after word. My sister loves to write big words and little words, page after page, word after word. Do you have a big brother or sister or cousin that might be in school and a grade older than you? I bet that they've learned how to write big stories and little stories, big words and little words. Sometimes I pretend that I can write too. Big letters and little letters, swirl after swirl, squiggle after squiggle. Do you see all those squiggle lines? What are you doing? I asked one day while we're sitting at the kitchen table. I'm writing a story. I wish I could write a story. You can. It's easy. How? I know my letters, but I don't know many words. Write what you know. Every story starts with a single word, and every story starts with a single letter. Why don't you start there with a letter? All right, what letter may he think of? So I get my crayons and pencils and a pad of paper and I start to write. I start with a single letter. It's an easy letter. Do you know what letter he used? It's I. That's me. That's a good beginning. Now what? What's going to happen? Well, how should I know? It's your story. You're the boss. What does she mean by that? You're the boss. He gets to make his story about anything he wants because he is the author. He's writing the words, so he is in charge. What? I'm stuck. What happens in my story? I draw a circle. It's a soccer ball. Then I write another letter. Here it is. It's you. I say to my sister, I'm playing soccer with you. Great! Where are we playing soccer? Maybe we're playing on the beach, I suggest. We've never played soccer on the beach. So is this a made-up story? It is. It's a fiction story. It's never happened to them before. They've never played soccer on the beach. And so it's a made-up story. So I do a bunch of dots for the sand on the beach. Then I make a bunch of V's. Big V's and little V's. Wave after wave in the ocean. Now what? What do you mean? You have a beginning. Now we're in the middle of the story. Something else has to happen so we can get to the end. So in a story, you have to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. So he needs a middle to his story. What's going to happen? The juicy part. I'm stuck again. I start doodling. I doodle another V. But this time I doodle it upside down. Oh no, it's a shark. It's getting closer and closer. I flip the page to get away from the shark. The next day I bring my story to school and it's my turn for show and tell. That means I get to sit in Miss Sign's chair. Everyone else sits on the carpet ready to listen. Here's Miss Sign. And here's Miss Sign's chair. Last night, I started to write a story. It's sort of squiggly, but here goes. Once upon a time, there was a brother and a sister, and they loved to play soccer. One day, they had an idea. They decided to play soccer on the beach, so they went to the beach and played soccer. Then they noticed something coming towards them in the water. It was a shark, a real live shark. It was getting closer and closer, and it was getting bigger and bigger. What might happen next? And that's as far as I got. That's wonderful, says Mrs. Sign. What happens next? What about the shark? What about the brother and sister? I don't know. I'm stuck. Class, does anyone have an idea? Jake waves his hand in the air. I do. Maybe one of them kicks the ball and it hits the shark in the head. Then maybe the shark bites the ball with his big, pointy, sharp teeth. Oh my, that's one thing that could happen. Alia offers another idea. What if the shark's name is Squiggles? What if Squiggles is a vampire shark? What if she invites the brother and sister to ride on her back? And what if they become a vampire family and live forever? Vampires can't swim. Everyone knows that. Of course they can swim. Vampires can do anything. But it's my story. And I don't want vampires in my story. If I was writing a story, I'd have lots of vampires. Then you should write one. But I like yours. So your story gets to be any way you want. That night after dinner, I sit down beside my sister. Her face is buried in a book. I've been thinking about my story all day and I still don't know how to end it. Remember, you're the author, she says without looking up. You can do whatever you want. So I get my pencil and I start with a bunch of stars, and then I add a few exclamation marks, And my sister told me exclamation marks make things exciting. And she's right, it is exciting. I add a couple of slanty lines. What's going on? Asked my sister, looking up from her book. It's nighttime. The stars are out. The shark has gone away, and we decide to take a walk on the beach. That's when we discover this giant rocket ship. That sounds cool. Then what happens? We hear a voice. It's counting down. Count with me. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off! Not yet, I say, adding one more squiggle. Just before the rocket blasts off, we spy a Martian looking out through a window. The Martian invites us to climb aboard. Wow, that's a great ending. Now I have an idea for my next story. It's going to be about a boy who climbs aboard a rocket ship and takes a trip to Mars. And I think I know just how to begin. A Squiggly Story by Andrew Larson. Everyone has a story to tell. And remember, sometimes the stories are fiction, and fiction stories are made-up stories about people, places, and ideas. See you next time.